So, welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm having a chat with my friend Komal Vaishnav from India. How are you, Komal?
I'm very good. How are you?
Um, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself? And
Yeah, I'm a bars facilitator from India. I teach something which is called Access Bars, and I'm also a conscious horse, conscious rider practitioner, which is another great specialty of Access, which has a lot to do with horses. And I also am a rhythm and earth facilitator, which is a drum circle facilitator, which is all about music and drumming and uh, being happy. Yeah. So pretty much everything revolves around being happy. These are just different ways of reaching
oh
that.
yes, awesome. That's super. So, um, yeah, I love that happy facilitator. That's that's the way to say it. I love it. Um, what I wanted to say was, so first tell me, I know about most of these things, but tell me a little bit about the bars in case someone's listening to this and they've never heard of access bars.
Yeah. I was actually, yesterday only I was thinking of how do I explain bars to a layperson, and I have a interesting analogy. We do a lot of work with horses, so I was relating bars with horses, and I thought it would be great to put it this way. So basically, like if you've ever seen like a horse race, and you've seen like how some horses are faster than others, some are somewhere behind, and some gather speed and momentum really quickly. So, access bars is pretty much this hands on therapy, which sort of removes all the clutter, which is stopping you from being as fast as you can. So, if you are like a horse and you're just running in your life, and it'll give you that momentum and it'll give you that precision to really go as fast as you know you can, and you've always been wanting to. So yeah, that is pretty much access bars, and it just keeps moving everything that's slowing you down, whether it's thoughts, feelings, emotions, or even stuff from the past or trauma of any kind. And the more I do it, the more faster I get, the more happier I am, and the more I think my body is happier as well. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Mm.
You can know more about it at www.accessbars.com. Yeah, so if you go there,
Yeah.
you get.
And just because you missed the step, it's a hands-on head body process. So it's you go to a practitioner, you lay down on a table or a folding chair, and they touch your head for about an hour, and then yes, you're as fast as a racehorse. I completely agree with your analogy of it there, Kamal. And then yeah, because that's the next question. I was like, let's get a bit of the bars out of the way, and then we want to talk about horses because let's face it, the two of us are horsey girls. So
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to know when and you can tangent the question and you can talk about something else if you want, but I want to know like when was the first time you were with a horse or met a horse, and what um possessed you, we'll say, to become a access, say, conscious horse, conscious rider, facilitator, or whatever, because I do this stuff as well. I've taken a practitioner, I think we call ourselves. Um, just the what got you into working with horses differently to being the typical like riding instructor, whatever.
Yeah. So I was introduced to horses. I think I only once, like when I was around 18 years old, I sat on a horse, and at that time it was so interesting. Like I didn't have a sense of my future in my personal life. That was before I found access bars, and I was really
Mm,
struggling with things. And my dad one day was like, "Let's go horse riding," and I was like, "I don't want to." And my outlook towards life was, "I don't want to do it." Like I didn't want to do anything interesting at that time. So he's like, one
mm,
fine day, he's like, "Let's go horse riding," and I'm like, "Why?" And I'm like, "I don't want to, and it's not fun, and just leave me alone and stuff." And but then he dragged us, so we just went, and then there were these horses, and I was also very highly aware of entities at that time. So there's another thing called
mm,
Dr. Entities, which you can go and check out. So because of that, my space used to always be so like cloudy and like blurry, and then so just I wasn't very open to new experiences in general. So But he took me, and then there was a horse, and then they put me on the horse, and I think 1 minute into it, I fell. I fell, and I fell so badly. It was almost like the wall had like, it was like a bad fall, but also it like shook me in a way. And then I woke up. I got up, woke up from that, and I was like, I was so pissed, and I was like, why did you get me to horse ride? I didn't want to do it in the first place, etc., etc. And after that, I never went to visit the horses again. Cut to in my first conscious horse conscious rider class, I sat on a horse again, and this time around it was so different because I had gotten my bars run and I was more open to things. And the moment I sat on a horse this time, I was like so happy, and like I was like glowing. And I remember my facilitator at that time, she's like, you're receiving a lot, and I'm like, am I? Okay, cool, this is fun. So it
Wow.
was such a, yeah. And when I look at it, I'm like, yeah. And then I think of late we've been, there is a lot of horse talk happening even in access and our classes. And I think one of my favorite quotes is that that something around Gary says that, you know, you can't sit on a horse if you're not willing to be aware of the future. And I was like, that is so true, because that's why I couldn't even sit on it earlier, because I didn't want to deal with what was happening in my life at that time. And now I'm
Mhm.
happy, and I'm more open to dealing with my life, you know. So that was such a big aha moment for me. And now I'm looking at joining riding classes again. Riding is something I had been sort of avoiding because I was like, oh, it'll bring up a lot of stuff. And but now this month I'm like, let's go for it. So yeah, that's pretty much been the thing with horses as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love it. And so you're converted and you're a horsey girl now and you have your own horses, do you?
Yes, own horses. Yeah, I have one, and the owner of the baby of my horse is just hell bent on me taking the baby as well. And I'm like, I guess I will just have to take the baby now. Like, take all the horses. I'm like, you're just literally throwing horses at me at this point in time.
Yeah, I know this feeling. It's like it's like you get one horse. You can't have and like they say it's a joke, as it's a joke with horsey girls. They can't have you can't just have one horse. And I'm like, no, because they more just appear. Like you just I'm like they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay. And then you have like five in the field. Like, it's like, how did this happen? I didn't like they're permanent and you can't. So yes, this is normal. It's not our fault. We don't do it. We just we just
And
have.
then the universe throws horses at you, and you're just like, okay, cool. How many do you have? Would you like to share some about yours?
Right now I have five, and that's low for me. With it's enough for now, but like oftentimes I could have I tended to stop at about 10, but I did also buy them and sell them on. I'd buy them and produce them for horse riding or show jumping and sell them on to people that would like a lovely like a riding horse and stuff like that. So I did that for a long time. And I used to compete as well, eventing and dressage and stuff like that. Just producing the horses, I would compete them a little bit to show them off, and then they would sell on to people that were looking for nice little riding horses. And I stopped that like about 10 years ago, I think, already. I've always thought that I'll get back to it when I have time, but that's been it's just
And if I'm
it's been like
yawning, it's just, yeah, I just think moving. I'm not sleepy. I just woke up.
yeah, yeah. I know the feeling sometimes you're in the middle of a conversation and you're like, I'm going to start yawning and I can't stop. I know. Um, um, I just know so many girls with horses, and when you get one, you just get two or three, and then it's just like your life revolves around making sure they're fed every day and watered and stuff like that. And then, but that that's that part of it. But I just don't want to like I'm not going to sell it. They're not like cars or toys or like clothes. You can't just like sell it again when you don't want it with a horse. It's like you can like with the the ones I had previously. They all went they had good homes. They went to people that were looking for a horse because when you're investing like tens of thousands of euros or dollars into a horse, generally it's going to someone that it wants it. Um, but like at the moment, I think I've had some of them for 15 years, you know. So they're not like it's not like I can just sell it off because it's a an asset. It's he's part of the furniture. So he's staying. Despite the disagreements. But um and then you just when they like I this is the other thing from that I will mention as well with you is the ones I bought some of them and I knew they wanted new homes. I knew when they came, they said, I'll just stay here for a while until the person that I want to be owned by shows up. And these guys just never moved. They never left. They were like, I want you to own me. And I'm like, okay, but you need to be owned by somebody else because I have too many. And they're like, no, they didn't go, they stayed. And so I thought that was very cute. So there's that whole element of it as well. But um yes. So what I wanted to we'll move on from horses because there's a danger we could stay here for the entire conversation. Um, to the sound baths, is that what the drumming? No, drumming circles. Yeah, I have never. I've done a sound bath once or twice. I've never done a drumming circle. So tell me all about it because I'm a complete newbie.
Yeah, it's this really cool way of like um engaging with your body because it comes from the African culture. So I think long back when there were no phones and nothing like that. So they I think in their tribal environment, although like anytime there was something to celebrate and some of the songs we listen to a few West African songs as well, and we also sing some African songs in a drum circle. And so basically, what I realized is that they used to have different music for anything to celebrate, and it could be something as simple as a boy turning like into a dollar sets, or it could be
Mm,
something as simple as this, and the whole tribe would come out to celebrate. And so the men would play the drums, and the women would gather in between, and they would dance. And but the
mm,
if you listen to the music, you can go on YouTube and just Google like West African music or African rhythms, and you realize like all of that has like a sense of like it's a lot of like has a bass, and it has a lot of like drum, like I don't know how to explain it, but it has a lot of like a sense of the earth. So rhythm
okay.
and a drum circle, the first time I attended it, I will not lie, I actually thought I was having an orgasm while drumming. I was
Okay.
like, oh my god, this thing is really cool. And I was like, it was such a big rush of receiving from like my body. And I was like,
Mm,
wow. And then I attended a few more, and then I was like, and then there was this whole training thing coming out that you can now train in this. And I was like, yeah, definitely. Like this was, and at that time I didn't know if I would take this or whatever, but I just knew that I wanted more of it. Like my body really enjoyed it. And yeah, and then I started just doing the first 10 drum circles I did in my city that I was in. And whoever would come, like we had different age groups of people who came from kids to adults and stuff. And everybody enjoyed it so much. And everybody had like different feedback. Like one of the ladies told me like she's like, I drummed so much. But the next day I was more energized in my dance class. Like she had a morning dance class, and she was like, I had so much more energy. And I was like, oh wow, so it's not like they're getting tired and going home and just like sleeping it out. They're actually like their body is sort of receiving from everything. And so, and this is open to all. So I like the fact that you get to meet a lot of people, and it's just fun to meet new people
mm.
and drum with them. And it's really really therapeutic. So I think, yeah, that's something I enjoy. I would love to take it to Europe. It has been my absolute like wish to, with the European countryside in the background, to drum. I think that would be so beautiful. So let's see, I mean, maybe this year we will go to Europe and do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So like there's so many like I should think of all the festivals that we have even here in Ireland and across the whole of Europe, especially in the summertime, everybody loves to be outside making noise and
Yeah.
gathering. So I think it would definitely be uh, there'd be definitely be a lot of interest in it was there, a potential. Um I'm definitely going to try that. I'll at least listen to it because I love listening to music when I'm in the kitchen. Like never in the kitchen really, God bless me, but like occasionally when I have a bit of silence and I'm not like listening, competing with dogs or listening to people talk or whatever. But at the moment I will say it is the second, third of November. I am listening to like Christmas ambience music. Just quiet.
Oh,
It's very
I,
quiet. I don't want
uh,
to sicken everybody, but I'm like a Christmas-aholic or something. It's not that, it's just a nice peaceful like piano kind of.
that's good. I get these suggestions on YouTube, and I live in a tropical country. I live in India. So for me, it never fits. And I'm always like, why is my YouTube now? It makes sense. It's you guys.
It's us, it's our fault.
Who
Um,
is listening to this? Like, here it's still warm as hell.
yeah, yeah. No, no, I know I wouldn't be able to do. I saw a post on Facebook about someone celebrating Christmas in New Zealand and how the peonies are coming out and the bees are coming and there's elderflowers on the trees. And I'm like, I don't, I couldn't do that. I'd have to, Christmas is cold. I need cold weather. I need to be able to drink warm chocolate, hot chocolate, and eat the warm food and like the cinnamon buns and all the bread. I'm like, and then, and then it's like, yeah, then I hear about Christmas in New Zealand. I'm like, no, I drew a tropical Christmas. But I'm sure there's different traditions. And if I did go somewhere in the tropics for Christmas, it would be a different experience.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I I'll do some African drum music in the kitchen when I'm cleaning the dishes next time and sweeping the floor.
God.
Might
That
get it
would be
done
hilarious.
faster. Yeah. Oh, that would be funny. Um, what I wanted to ask you, if you're finished,
Yeah.
I know sometimes we can go tangent off on conversations, was so you got into the African drum music. You heard it, you got into it, and you went and you experienced your bars being run a couple of times. And I guess, and now you're facilitating bars for other people and you're facilitating these classes and you want to spread the classes around the world and you want to facilitate more classes and become a, you know, become like watch out world, Kamal is coming. Um, what motivated you, like say, as opposed to the person who just gets their bars run, finds it valuable and carries on with their life and probably gets their bars run on a weekly basis? You've gone ahead and started um treating people and started these drum circles and you're bringing people in. Why are you going down that path is what I'd love to know.
Yeah, that's a great question because I didn't realize it until you asked me. I'm like, yeah, why did I do? But I guess I'd always wanted to engage with people. I think underlying all this is always, I think my work is fun because I get to meet people. And I think it's such a privilege to be able to meet people. I don't know how else to say it, but just to connect and to engage. And for me, it's also that thing in access, also, they say that be interested, not interesting. And I think I always had that growing up. Like I was always like, okay, I'm willing to be the fly on the wall, and you can just tell me things about you because that is so interesting to me, and it's so much fun. And not even fun, it gives me, it enriches my life. Like it's a very core component of my life. So through my work I get to do this, and then it doesn't even feel like work. It feels pretty much like hanging out, or just like, yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. It really is like just going about doing your things. And then another thing I realized is, even if you remove people from the equation, like how much do we engage with just life on our daily basis, right? Like whether it's like meeting a tree or a plant or like an animal, or like it's some of us, and we all engage in different ways, but engagement is such a big part of life. And yeah, I mean, I can go on and on about
Mm.
this, but and some of us are like, for example, another thing I realized is when I didn't have when I wasn't engaging with people, I wasn't very happy. Like, I was a little,
Mm.
like I said, when I was in my own world, I that was creating a lot of issues for me. And when I got to engage, when I got to meet people, it sort of relaxes my world weirdly. Like, we're also, some of us are highly X-Men, and we have these capacities. So when we're not using them, they actually sort of make your world smaller compared to when you're using them. and then your world can relax and expand and like really, I don't know, bring more money
Wow.
in, and all of this starts happening once you start using. So I guess my capacity has always been engaging, and when I wasn't using it, it was not, I was not in a good space mentally or physically or emotionally. And now when I get to use it, it really is gifting me. Now I see in ways more than anything. Because even with horses, the kind of roles they put me on are mostly engagement. So like I handle the social media for conscious horse, conscious rider, or I will when I was in Italy, they put me, so we'd just gone there, and I was because I was part of the social team, so I was taking photos and stuff. And then at one point, I was in the barn, and there were all these horses, and their owners were coming and meeting them. And I was like, I don't think I'll ever get a chance to speak to them again because I'm not even from Italy. So I started going and talking to them, and they started telling me things. They're like, this guy's not listening to me. And they started telling me the interpersonal issues that they were having with their horse. And then I went back and I told the trainers who were taking the class, I'm like, this guy has this problem with his horse. This guy has this problem with his horse. Can we help them? And they were like, yeah, bring them to class tomorrow. And then we got him to class tomorrow and the next day. And he was so happy because we worked with him. And, then he gave this testimonial and stuff. And then I realized, I'm like, yeah, and one of the trainers was like, she's like, you can go find us more owners and horses. We will be happy to send you.
Awesome.
So yeah, I guess it's more about like people and engaging with different people. Yeah.
That's really kind of that's interesting because counter it's a very counter perspective to what I hear a lot of with social media nowadays about like on social media, or even just like there's a lot of people giving out about wanting like introvert and time at home and space at home. And I think there's a lack of skill set. Like you develop the skill set to be able to interact with all these people, and it like changed your life. And
Yeah.
imagine if you were like a lot of people are just not developing that skill set, so they call themselves introverts, and then they sit inside and they don't want to connect with people, and then they become, as you said, when you're too introverted, when things get a little bit more difficult. And instead I'm like just the shift of perspective. I hear a lot of one side, so to hear the other side is really cool. Not that everybody should be extroverted and everybody should be introverted or whatever, but it's like oftentimes giving yourself a little bit of the space of a room full of people, or not even a full room, a couple more people. It can shift your energy
Yeah.
around from being
And
too.
yeah, and even I think even with the introverted people, or I don't know how to say it, but even with people who think they're introverted, what I've seen is that they're still engaging. It's not like they're not engaging. Like they might not be engaging with people, but they're engaging psychically with like things around them. And, like they are, so I think we're always engaging. It's just when you know the kind of engagement that's fun for you, that's when you really blossom into that
Mm,
playground possibilities. So I would say really what is fun for you as engagement, and what if your life could be around that.
yeah, that's true. It's like it's not one or the other or black. Like you're not this way or that way. Like everybody's a kind of a blend of a
You have,
mashup
you
of
have
everything.
5 horses. I mean, that is so cool. Every time I hear that, my brain, I think,
Yeah,
breaks to just
I
because
am
that is so cool.
I am not the introvert. Anyways, I don't have a choice. I'm like I
Yes, you
can't
don't,
sit on
exactly. You don't have a choice.
I I can't stay in bed all morning. I have to go out and talk to these. I have 5 horses and I also have 4 dogs. So one of the dogs are going to get me up, and then I just go and I go out there even on the days when it's like no, hardcore no, I don't want to move. I'll get up and I'll take care of the dogs, and I'll do it very introverted energy where I have to, let them out so they can have a poo and a pee and a drink. And I'll just go, okay, while I'm up, I'll just go and I'll check the horses and I'll make sure their water is good and give them some more hay. And then I realize I've like done 2.5 hours work because I've just picked something up here and I've done that. So I'm like, I'm not actually introverted. It's like it's still not. It doesn't, and then I'll come back in and sit down on the couch and I'm like, it's not the energy of moving around and like I wouldn't move around inside. I'd rather be outside. That's one thing about me that is a bit juxtaposition, and I don't know where it's come from, is I do live in Ireland, so Northern Europe, so we do have the seasons and we barely get nice weather in the summer, but I love being outside so much that I've just developed this affinity for the cold that I don't think anybody anybody likes. And I just feel like if I were in a warmer country, maybe I would spend even more time outside. But because it does when it gets to the lower temperatures, it can be tough to be outside that consistently and still enjoy it. But I think I've just kind of developed this like second skin. So so the outdoors doesn't like I don't mind the cold, but I often think if I just move somewhere that is nice all year round so you can be outside. But anyway, that's a whole kettle of fish. But as you meet some people, and I'm like I think they could develop some more skills, um, to be, and it would like literally improve their life entirely. So where they don't think they're introverted anymore, it's because like if you do thrive, and I think as a whole people would thrive because we're people. We're not we're not bears that hibernate all winter. We're humans. Um, you can you can have certain traits, but as a human, like there's this tribal element. You're not supposed to behave in a certain way, but having this there is a little bit of it in you, even if you don't want to believe it. You know, the community thing. Like you said, the minute you stepped into the drum circle, you were like, oh, this matches the energy, this matches this energy that I never even knew existed, or I finally found it. And I'm like, that's just my thinking. Um, but what I wanted to ask you, I want to ask you the next question is because I'm listening, like, it is so interesting. And then you say something, and I'm like, oh, I want to ask you about that. And it's when you're working with people, because you work from everything from a massive drum circle, which could have like 50 people in it, maybe, like you have big drum circles.
Right now, the kind of
Yeah.
ones I'm doing are like 20, 30. I haven't gone to
Yeah.
50. What?
Yeah, but it can have a high number of people, all the way down to like you can do smaller classes, often with horses. You're teaching I would teach 4 or 5 kids in a lesson, down to the one-on-one that comes with a bars class.
Mhm.
And what do you find um over that range of like facilitation, we'll say, just to cover all the bases, cover all of it, is it like what do you find is a theme for working with people? Is there a response? Like what's your perspective on that? And then say from the large ones down to the one-on-ones, and like what in the middle, what do you find is the overarching theme with people?
Yeah, I think, I mean, again, like, it's, I think everything I've learned from horses, like how Gary says. So
Yes,
that, yeah, so
I
we
say
were,
that.
yeah, totally. And I think there's this beautiful quote by Susie, I think, because I work with her also. So she says that she's like that while working with horses, there has to be mutual honor and respect. And I think the same applies for people as well. Like, because even whether it's two people or whether it's a group full of absolute strangers now, and I think what's most fascinating is when you're trying to create like a class, like an access class, and you have all these people with different capacities now just thrown into this team, and you have to like execute something. And I'm like, this is so fascinating. And I'm always like, how do some events happen in such a large scale that you have 1,000, 2,000 people being pulled in versus how does a group of people not manage to execute like whatever their target was. And I think the underlying thing is this mutual honor and respect, because when you have that, it becomes so easy to work together. And because no two
Mm,
people are the same, no two people of the same city are ever the same even. So just, and there can
mm.
be ego clashes, and there can be so much. And in my last horse class, I remember I was trying to lunge this horse, and it was so funny because it was an execution of what was happening in my life, because I was lunging her, and I was stopping her with my left hand, okay, at the same time. And my facilitator,
Okay.
she's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Does the horse have space?" I'm like, "No." And then she's like, "Are you like, where will she move?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is what I'm doing." Even when I'm working with people, because I had sort of taken this role of, I can do everything all the time, and all of that. And then I was like, and for 5 minutes I was blank. I was like, I literally have to change my body position in order to give her more space and lunge her in a way that she actually moves. And then I did that, and I did that, I think, 2 3 times before I got a hang of it. And now, since then, like, working in teams is so much more easier. Like, every time I feel like I have to go for it, I literally physically stop myself. And I'm like, just relax, like, let people. And at the same time, I allow myself, and I have to go for it. I think that delicate balance of going for it and also just taking a back seat and just relaxing. But she gave
Um,
me such a great lesson. I was like, "Oh, the horses will show you. They will show you what's happening."
this is yeah. It's like I think I learned a lot of that from horses. I've had horses since I was like tiny, and I worked with them. Like that was when, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to ride horses. That was my response. Um, I think I might change my response to be rich. I want to be rich when I grow up because horses are expensive. I can have horses when I have the money. That's just being silly, but it's also kind of true. But I from working with people with horses, I'd I thought everybody understood that like when the horse isn't doing something, it's because you're doing something wrong. And I'll just explain, say, for people that don't have the horsey thing. When Kamal said she lunged the horse, which is the horse is moving, you're standing in the middle of the arena, and the horse is on the end of perhaps like a 10-15 meter rope, and the rope is usually clipped onto their head collar or bridle or a lunging cavesson, which is a thing for around their head. The details are not specific. It depends on who's doing it. And the horse is moving around you in a circle, and you're standing still, and you're rotating around the circle facing the horse. And if you, what's really fun about lunging is if your horse is listening to you, if you look down, the horse will stop. The horse is really listening to you. So you can be standing facing him. And if your shoulders rotate, like, so you have to be rotating constantly with your shoulders square to the horse's quarters and shoulders and hind end, we'll say. And if your shoulders rotate away, so he's moving this way and you're like rotated this way, you can actually speed him up. That's what I do. When I rotate my shoulders so they're facing the horse's head, it slows them down. And this is what she was describing. So the horse was probably going to the left, and you put out your left hand in front of the horses. So the horse's eye, he has got this 180 degree of vision, so he can see almost as much of his sides as he can in front. And so he's like half his vision is taken up by Kamal doing this with her hand up in the air. If you're listening to the audio, she's got her hand up in the air. And like if you're looking straight at someone and they start going towards you with their hand up in the air, you stop. So she was like asking the horse to go forward, but at the same time blocking the horse's space. So he couldn't go forward, even though he would have been 10-15 meters away from you. But that's how much of a scope of space that horses have, that they're like, well, your body language is telling me to stay here. And when you're teaching someone how to work with horses, how to ride horses, how to take care of horses, as I was doing, I would be looking at them going, why are you in the way of the horse? And they're like, what am I doing? He's all the way over there. And I'm like, no, like and then you get into like a body language session, a chat conversation. And when you get into the real nuances of it, when you're standing in the middle of a field and there's 10 horses around you, and like I have a little pet peeve, Kamal, and it's about carrots and horses. And like, if you always have sweets in your pocket when you go to the gate to feed your horse, he's not coming up because he likes you. He's
Yeah.
coming up because you have food. And he is an animal. His concern in life is food is his number one concern. So so I kind of don't bring food with me to see my horses because I want to see how they kind of when I visit it, particularly the guys in the field. I like hiding under a tree and just watch them because I want to know if they're well. And like you can see a horse can start come up and start walking up to you, and they can be concealing an injury, like a limp or a colic or there could be something on them. But when they're completely changed and the energy starts to focus on you. But if you kind of hide yourself in the field as you approach, don't just kind of observe them. You'll see his natural behavior, and you'll see if he's constantly favoring one hind leg as he's grazing for 10 minutes, as he's just standing there in the stable, wherever. You'll see if he's constantly favoring one side or one hind leg. And maybe I have one guy and I was watching him for a while, and for like 10 minutes, and he kept switching his hind legs. He never stood on both of them at the same time, and it was a pelvic issue. And if I had just approached them in the field with the carrots or the sweets, or called them, or said, "Oh, the horse wants to come see me," I'd never have been able to discover this horse had this problem. And that's the whole thing in life. Then it's like I feel like when I was listening to you talk, you really are a thinker. Like when you're sitting in there with a room full of people getting ready to get this big project underway, you're thinking about everybody. And I'm like, I don't think that much. I'm terrible. I don't think, because I think
Yeah.
everybody knows what I know. What I've spent 20 years doing is observing and reflecting. And I'm like, why isn't everybody being observant? But like, you're, I'd love to watch you work, just because I imagine you sit there and you're like, you go along like a little thing, and then you stop, and like you're like a mouse, and you're like, oh wait, okay, what are they doing? And then the brain starts thinking, if everybody did a bit more of that, it would be fantastic. You'll reflect on what people are doing and what choices everyone else is making, and then you'll be like, okay, this is what's required. Imagine if the whole world did that, instead of just being like, this is what I want to do. And 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 you go do that with a horse, and they'll be like, bye. It's like there's a 7 foot fence and they're gone over it.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I mean, we think also like that's why being with a horse helps, because my brain sort of shuts down completely. Like I'm not thinking anymore when I'm with a horse, and it's just the peace and the space there being. And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I think what will it take
That's
to have that space then?
that's
Then
that because because a horse is going to do, they're not going to do something else. And that's the thing. Like, and I'd be the same as you if I'm working with a large team of people. I have to sit there and I have to think about what they're going to do, because I don't like what you think. Like with a horse is going to horse, is what I say. Horse is going to do what horses do. So if you do something, they're going to tell you that this isn't going to work. Whereas a human, like you might do something and they'll ignore it from you, like your friends or something like that, and you say something the wrong way. uh, you say something wrong, they they ignore it instead of addressing it with you in the beginning. And then you get this habit of just behaving in a certain way, and then it becomes an argument in a year's time when you don't get on. Because with a horse, if it's not going to work for the horse, you'll find out instantly. And I think that's a lot with people, me and you anyways, the way we've learned how to be with horses. And then you come into people and you're like, well, we're going to have to sit here for a minute and figure out what these guys are actually going to do, because what they're saying and what they're doing don't match. Do you find that?
yeah, and then that's been the gift. And I mean, I'm not even trying to, but my target is to sort of build my life in a way that I get more horse time, because I think there's so much to learn in terms of everything. And when I started working with horses here, it was so interesting. Every time I would come back from the stables, I would get some new work, or somebody else would reach out, and I'm like, what? Like, this is so cool. It literally is paying me in terms of financially, emotionally, mentally. Like, there is so much that they gift. But essentially, what they were gifting is more of me being me and less of the thinking, like how you're saying. Like, when I was being me, everything was working, everything works. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. It's very that yeah, that's that's the horses. That's the gift of the horses. Um, I'm gonna ask you a question, and it's going to be a complete tangent to something, but it would depending on your answer, I suppose. But you have not picked, even in the beginning, you didn't pick a typical career path, like, to become an administrator, office worker, nurse, doctor, you know, school teacher. Or did you, when you were 18? did you have a plan in mind that I want to become a, I don't know, whatever, horticulturist or something like that? Um, how did that work out for you?
I no, I think like for the longest, my parents were like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, it was so stressful to choose. Like even when I did my college, it was all in like this wherein I got to study all
Mm,
subjects. Like I don't think I could ever pick one. And I think that's just how my brain works. I can't do one thing. It's at least the awareness has to be about everything. And yeah, I don't
wow.
think I ever was cut out for one thing. Think that would that's and I know some people can do it, but it just didn't. And every time someone told me to pick one, it was very stressful. Like it would give me anxiety when you tell me to pick one thing. I was like, I don't think I
That
can.
that is awesome. That is
Yeah.
brilliant. That's so true. And it's like, and I suppose I'm glad that from what you said, anyways, your parents didn't kind of make you study one subject or one area. They were just like, do what you need to do, which is kind of it. I know nowadays it sounds like people say that, like, oh, I'll let them do what they want, but there's still a little bit of kind of impelling someone to be in a box, you know. Even I tried to put you in a box there with that question, but like you're like, we'll see what, because Kamal like answers the question and it just goes the other way. I'm like, I'll ask her any question. She's never going to say that. She's like, we'll see what she comes up with for an answer. I love it. Um, and now, my next question is, where do you see yourself going, or do you say from today? Now you're starting, as you said, you're getting more horses in your life, and the opportunities are starting to get bigger, and like whatever, it doesn't matter. Like what would you like to be doing in 10 years time, or what, the way that the question goes, but
I think I really want to have a ranch of my own. That is
love
like
it.
my deepest desire. Just the other day, and right now it's a little bit of a planting seed sort of an idea, but every day I'm
Mm,
getting more information about it, and I'm also just being open and asking the universe about because because I see kids here who come to ride, and I see how how much they love riding, and how like I speak to the mothers as well sometimes. And one of the moms is like, she's like, my kid only loves horse riding. She's like, he doesn't care about anything else. He
mm,
literally, this is the only thing he likes. And that was so light. And I've met this kid, and he's like, it's so funny. One day he was like, "Do you know if I could spend a night in the stables, I would gladly sleep with my horse." I was like, "That doesn't make sense," but I get where you're coming from. He was like,
mm.
"I'd love to sleep with my horse." I'm like, "This is hilarious, and it's so funny, and it's so." I get what he's saying, and so yeah, I mean, yeah. So I guess not just a ranch, but a ranch with like a riding facility as well for kids. And, I think that was,
Mm.
and with my work with Access, I also want to become a conscious or conscious rider facilitator, something I'm targeting next year.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we really have this different way of being with horses, sort of broadcasted into the world. I think if I could have my ranch, I could do it with more like ease and joy and glory. I think that is the idea for now. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And more
Awesome.
plans.
And a stable building with the house attached and your bedroom looking
Yeah,
out into the stable
please.
with your, yeah,
Yes. And
yeah.
my office, and I once went to this guy's office who has who runs like a horse magazine in India, one of the most famous horse magazines. And his office
Okay.
was so cool. It had this old, like a white
Mm.
horse painting, and he apparently was the first military horse in India or something like that. I was like, I could work here. I could work on this.
Wow.
He's
That,
brilliant.
yeah. I like that. That sounds like fun. Um, awesome. So so you have big plans then for the next year if you're going to start
Yeah.
facilitating your own horse classes.
Yes, yes. I'm literally,
Awesome.
I've just looked at the dates of the facilitator training and what all. I'm just finishing off the prereqs required because I mean, I'm
Hmm.
just asking, if I don't do this next year, what will my life look like? And if I do it, what will like my life? And that don't do it has such a energy, and I'm like, cool, we have to do it now. There is no,
Yeah.
let's go for it, sort of a thing. Yeah.
Um, okay, so that looks like you starting to facilitate classes in 2025. And what have you got happening, say, between now and next year, which is only like the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks? What have
So
you got on the
yeah,
plan?
so I'm hosting one class in India, which is a 3-day body class, which is coming up, and which is
Wow.
basically just for your body and your being. They run body processes the whole 3 days, which I'm very excited for. It's going to be my first one, and we are working on. I'm working in a team that I've never worked with before, so just applying those
Hmm.
and also seeing how. I'm very curious to see how it actualizes, like in terms of how many people do we get and stuff. So we're just working on the back end for that. And yeah, I mean, also
Mm,
this facilitator has a demand for more people, more clients, and that energy is great because I'm like, okay, what can I learn from him? Because sometimes you sort of give up after a few registrations, but this guy is like, his name's Brendan Watt, so he's coming to India and
hmm.
he's like, I will not come for less than 20 people. And we're all like, okay, cool, we have to get 20 people.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
And
Yeah,
I,
because
yeah, and I think that's
yeah.
a great demand to put in. Like, it's like when he said that, it was like, oh my God, he's asking for something in the universe. And what if
Hmm.
I could ask for this, like, what if I could have this demand for my classes and stuff. Yeah, I think
Exactly. What if that's it? What if we're sitting here this time next year having a conversation where you're like, I'm not coming for that and
yes.
for less than 20 people?
Oh my God. Yes, what will
Yeah,
it take? Yeah, totally.
yeah. This is awesome. Um, so I, as I said, it's been nearly an hour, I think. And the danger of us continuing, like I have like 10 questions of you, but horsey questions, which I don't know. They're going to be very niche specific, so maybe we should have those chats after. Um, so we'll start to wrap up here. And a question for you, I kind of try and ask everyone on the podcast is, what have you not said yet that if you would like to say before we wrap?
Oh
What
my
is
God,
it?
such a great question. I would like to say I'm so grateful for you and this whole platform and what you're doing. And also, I think just because I found you through, I mean, I think like horses led me to you. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for your horses. Because another thing, I think when I work with people who have animals, I always see their animals contributing. Like whenever I work with them, I have a sense and I
Mm,
feel like telling animals and children. Yes, both. Like toddler kids. Like every time I was working with this lady and she had this small baby, and every time I'm paying her, I can sense how much the baby is contributing. And I'm like, and the same
mm,
sense how much the animals contribute. And yeah, I mean, I think I would like to say that how much are the animals, your animals and the animals of the world contributing to us that we haven't fully acknowledged, and my animals as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like that's what I want to say. If someone's listening to this now, just reflect on that for yourself. Go find an animal, even if it's just your neighbor's dog, or you go sit in a park, or not something on a TV screen, but a visual animal. Even if you pull over at the side of the road and like look at a horse or a cow or whatever might be sitting in the field, or a bird in a tree, and ask that question that Kamal just asked there. How is this animal contributing to me right now? And just let that play with that. And you can play with that for like 10 years if you keep at it. But like do ask it every day for a week. And like if you want to this isn't like we're not saying this is a medication, this is a prescription. No, it's for you to play with if you want. If you think what we've said is nonsense, then no problem. Don't do it. We don't want you. That's a joke trying to get you to like that play on words. You tell someone they can't do it and then they makes them want to do it. That works so much. I love using that. And people, I don't think you, especially when I was teaching horse riding, is I don't know if you can jump that high. Probably can't, you're right. It's like, maybe not. Maybe you're not able to do it. And then it would immediately switch. Within a couple of days, people would be like totally like, maybe I can do it. But that's the push and pull energies that I think you know about this as a the pushing and pulling your energy. Animals are really good at that.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. Yes. Thank you for
Ah,
having me on, and this was so much fun. I can't wait to
thank you
read
for
this.
thanks for taking the time to talk to me. And I will drop the links to any, like you mentioned, Susie Godley, Brendan Watt, a couple of other facilitators. They're fantastic. And they'll put out so much information. Just follow them. There's like different topics. They all talk about different things. And I'll put your own social media down below and the links to your website in the description of this video, wherever you find it. It'll be on multiple platforms nowadays. I think that's what everyone has to do. And Komal is in India at the moment. And so if you're in that part of the world, feel free to hit her up and have a chat with her. Or you probably will be traveling over the next 12 months, usually. Will you be?
I mean, yeah, after a month, right now I'm at home. So yes, I travel in a month from now. Yeah.
Awesome. Where are you going? Do you know where you're going or can
I'm
you talk
going
about it?
I'm going within India for the body class. It's another city in India. Yeah, but India is
Cool.
so big. It's like 3 hours. And if I was in Europe, it'd be a different country, I'm sure. Like in 3 hours.
It's free. Yeah, I can be in America in 5 hours from Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Um, but awesome. And yeah, you're very active on social. So if you think the girl and the drum circles and all of that, she'll have lots of stuff happening. So I will say bye for now. Bye bye.
It's fine.